I had taken a workshop at the Beinecke that was for graduate students with Karen Rothman. And during those days, I got into Annie Dillard's papers because she's a writer that I really enjoy reading, and I'd never been in archival material before. So this was also my introduction to like digging into the archives. And I really didn't know what I was gonna find when I opened her boxes. I was hoping just to get my eyes on a draft of Total Eclipse, which is the essay that's on display in this exhibit. And what I found was a really surprising and literally very colorful kind of array of materials that told a story about like the composition of this essay, and also about her ideas about consciousness, which is part of what the essay is about. And so, as it also turns out, it's an essay that's kind of on the surface level, it's about her traveling to the Yakima Valley in Washington State in 1979 in February to see a total eclipse that was happening then. And she lived on the coast at the time, so she drove to the valley with her husband and they watched the eclipse, and the essay is about that experience. It also fit with the roadshow theme, and so Nancy had seen my work for that workshop and then reached out to me and asked if I would be interested in co-curating a case with Dillard's materials. And from there, it was really exciting because I had never done that before. And so we looked at some of the materials I had found and also other materials. We have the first printing of the essay which happened in 1982. And then we also displayed some of the manuscript pages and the notebook that I found. So in this case, there's a notebook that's on display that actually has an entry from the day after Annie Dillard saw the total eclipse of 1979. So it's got a date on it. And then it also has, I think she probably wrote at a later time, Eclipse at the top of the page. And then there's like her kind of initial description, just the morning after, of like what she saw and what she thought about it. And that entry is striking in part because there are a lot of ideas and phrases that she, that she wrote then on that day after that appear in the final draft of the essay. And then the other thing that I have, or one of the other kind of exciting pieces in the case, is a couple of pages from her manuscript. Like these are handwritten drafts. So she wrote like a lot of her drafting was by hand. And it's like apparent right there when you're looking at the pages that she drew like little drawings and doodles, sometimes in different colored pens, all across like the pages. The margins are kind of like littered with them. So it's really interesting. Like it's fun to just kind of flip through her pages. But the thing that and this is one of the probably the key takeaway for me, is that there's a little drawing kind of towards the top center of one of the pages that looks like it could just be a doodle, but it's actually her diagramming out the structure of the essay. And the drawing looks like a kind of valley between two mountains, and there's a little stick figure at the top of one end, and then she has like a kind of little scribbles on both of the peaks that say world, and then at the bottom that says abyss. And it's on a page where she's also like working out problems in the essay and how she's trying to kind of solve some of those problems mid-draft. And so the structure of the essay mimics the kind of geographical or topographical place that she is. She drove, from the coast over the mountains into a valley, into the Yakima Valley, and then they climbed a mountain again to have a good view of the eclipse. But she also talks in the essay a lot about darkness. So it kind of mimics the experience of the eclipse itself, where you go from being in a regular light-filled world to a moment of temporary but kind of total and somewhat surreal or kind of alien darkness. It's very unfamiliar to her the way the light looks, and then that eventually, it's temporary, and the moon moves across the sun again, and the light kind of resumes to normal. And it's also what happens when we travel. We leave our home, we go away, we come back, and that's really like all of those motions are the same motions that she describes when she's exploring her ideas about our consciousness and the levels of consciousness. So she talks about that exploration being a kind of vertical motion of consciousness. And so the thing that I think, if you were to be looking at the case, it's fun and beautiful to look at her drawings and also her writing, but it's also, the thing I want to take away is that like these doodles are really part of the creative process because she's also diagramming the structure and her kind of thinking about what the essay, what she's trying to convey in the essay.